saute, and then we're going to also have a Caesar salad with a homemade dressing. We're going to get started on the salmon. Now, I found this at the store. This is wild sockeye salmon, and the reason I chose it for today's program is this literally was the prettiest side of salmon I believe I have ever seen. And so I thought, you know, my family loves salmon. So I thought, well, this is an easy to cook, quick cook meal for you and your family. Now, you can use frozen salmon fillets. I do that often. I typically do have in my freezer a bag of the frozen salmon. It's perfectly fine. This was fresh, but you can substitute the frozen if you want. Fish needs very little seasoning. This is a beautiful piece of salmon. I'm going to coat it with just a little bit of olive oil. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. You don't need a lot of extra flavors on salmon. If it's a good piece of fish, it doesn't need anything. It really does not. Lemon and fish goes perfectly together, so I'm using some lemon pepper. Now, this particular one does not have salt, so that is why I chose to go ahead and salt my fish first. If your lemon pepper seasoning has salt in it, skip the salt. Now, just put some lemon pepper on there, as much or as little as you like. And a little bit of dried basil. This is optional. I think it just adds a little bit of interest. I like to put the basil in my hand and kind of crush it as I sprinkle it on the salmon. Please overlook my voice today. I don't know. We shall see. We're going to pop this in the oven. It's going to take about 20 minutes to bake. If you have an air fryer, you totally could cut that into individual serving pieces and put them in your air fryer. Would be delicious. That works too. All right, now we're going to make a quick side dish of sauteed green beans and mushrooms. But first, let's come over here. I have a pot of water that I have brought to a boil, and I'm going to add 1 can of chicken broth just for some extra flavor. If you don't have the chicken broth, that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put some orzo, about half the box of dried orzo. Let's add some salt to that water because it really is the only chance you're going to have to season that pasta. Let's stir it up. That needs to cook about 8 or 9 minutes. Pasta or orzo pasta is a very, very quick cooking pasta. If you don't have orzo and you wanted to use rice, you totally could. I'm going to go ahead and preheat this skillet, and I'm going to put a little bit of butter in there and a little bit of canola oil. I'm going to saute. Well, actually, I think I'll just put the green beans in there first. I'm going to let that melt. If you have an onion, you could also put an onion in it, but I don't have one today. Now, these are baby Bella mushrooms, and I did wash them. There's a big debate whether or not you should wash your mushrooms. I wash them because they're grown in dirt. And I just, you know, if you don't soak them in the water, they're not going to absorb a tremendous amount of the water. Now, you should have seen the strainer when I got through. If you see the strainer, you're going to wash your mushrooms too. I watched a program once from America's Test Kitchen, and they actually did a test whether or not the mushrooms absorb a lot of water, and it was minimal, so I washed mine. I'm going to slice these. These are baby Bellas because they are what looked pretty, but you could use white button mushrooms. You could use any kind of mushroom you like. I'm just slicing them. Oh my goodness. Are you suffering with allergies too? That's all this is it's allergies. I'm really, really, really sensitive to pollen. If I spend any time outside, it just does. I don't know why. I've always been this way. And it can come on in the drop of a hat. I was fine when I left to come over here today. Oh my goodness. And I got here and I was like, well, I'm already prepped. I'm already ready to go. I've already got all this stuff. So my little family at home they will not mind my raspy voice. I probably sound like a bullfrog, but it is what it is. I can't help it. Now, once that butter has melted, we are going to add a little bit of water and some fresh green beans. Now, all I did was, these are the little thin green beans. They don't need a lot of time to cook. If you are using like half runners or something like that, I definitely would cook them in some boiling water first. But these are those wonderful little thin green beans, just snap beans. And they don't take any time at all to cook. I'm just going to steam them for a few minutes and let that, this is not the right lid. This one is the right lid. We're going to let those steam for just a few minutes. And then for about 3 or 4 minutes, then if there's any water left, I'll pour it off and we will add in the mushrooms. I'm going to clean up my workspace, take a quick break, and when I come back, we will finish up the green beans and check on the orzo and start the salad dressing. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our salmon is in the oven. Our green beans are cooking. I did take the lid off of the green beans so that the water could evaporate. Our orzo is cooking. Now let's make a dressing, a homemade Caesar salad dressing minus the anchovies. An original, authentic Caesar salad dressing has anchovies in it, but I don't have any, so I'm not going to use them. You need to start with a little bit of mayonnaise, about 1/4 of a cup. I'm not going to measure. Let me just get it down to the bottom here. We're just going to put about that much, about 1/4 of a cup. Some Worcestershire sauce, just a little bit, couple, 3 or 4 drops, not a whole lot of this. It's very strong. A clove of minced garlic if you have it. I don't, so I'm just going to use the garlic paste. This is in my refrigerator pretty much at all times. Then you need a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper and some olive oil, a couple of tablespoons of good olive oil. You want that flavor. Alrighty, let me get this back over here out of my way. Those green beans smell so good. You need some lemon. I'm going to zest my lemon too. You don't have to zest it, but I think it just adds so much flavor. The essential oils of the lemon are in the skin, the outer portion of the rind, and I like to zest it. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but I think it adds a whole lot of flavor. Okay, we're gonna Always roll your lemon on your surface. Kind of loosens up those juices a little bit. Put that zest in there. Cut my lemon in half. I'm going to use my little lemon squeezer. If you don't have one of these, I strongly advise get one if you use a lot of citrus, because they really do a great job of getting the juice out without the seeds. If you've never used one of these, you put the cut side down and then squeeze it over the container, and it really does get all that juice out. These were good juicy lemons. Okay, now just stir it up, whisk it up. If you want it to be a little thinner, you could add a little bit more olive oil. I think that's about right. Now obviously you could put this dressing over any kind of salad greens that you want. Traditionally, Caesar salad is made with just romaine lettuce. So I have some heads of romaine that I'm going to just cut. I have washed these. Romaine just has a wonderful crunch to it to separate the whole thing. I love romaine lettuce. I like iceberg. It has a good crunch to it. For some reason, and I really don't know why, iceberg upsets my stomach. I do not know why. It just tears my stomach up. No other lettuce does but iceberg, but I do eat it sometimes. But I love romaine. It has the same crunch. It actually has some good nutritional value, whereas your iceberg lettuce really doesn't have any nutritional value. Now I want to add to mine a little bit of fresh parsley, because I think that fresh herbs just really do add flavor and a brightness and a freshness to anything. So I'm gonna chop up just some fresh flat leaf parsley. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Traditional Caesar salad does not have the parsley in it, but I like it, so I'm gonna add just a little bit. And I'm gonna mix all that together. Now that was 2 heads of romaine. Get it off my hands because that's where a lot of it's stuck here. I'm gonna add some croutons. I'm just buying my croutons. If you want to make homemade croutons out of your leftover French bread or Italian bread, then you go ahead, but I've just bought some store-bought croutons. As many or as few as you like. And traditionally, a Caesar salad does have shaved Parmesan. So I have here some shaved Parmesan cheese, which is my favorite cheese. I love it so, so, so much. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of freshly ground pepper over mine, because if you have watched this program for any length of time, you know I love fresh ground pepper. I will wait to put my salad dressing on until I'm ready to serve. Now let's go over here and check on our green beans and our orzo. The green beans almost have all the water gone. I'm just kind of letting that water evaporate. Let's check the orzo. I would say it's done. Let me grab a spoon. There's only one way to test, and that's to taste it. All right. Let's see if it's done. That's completely done. By adding that tiny bit of chicken broth to the water, you really have elevated the flavor of the orzo. I'm going to take a quick break, clean up. When I come back, the water will be gone. All I'm going to do is drain this orzo. When I come back, we'll check the fish. We'll finish up this meal. We'll saute the mushrooms. And the best part, we'll get to eat. So I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now I took our green beans out. I added just a little bit more butter, and I'm going to saute these mushrooms for just a minute, just to kind of get them going. Then we'll add the green beans back in. I am going to add a little tiny bit of salt to the mushrooms. You have to season everything as you go along. Now, I drained the orzo. I'm going to add a little bit of butter to it, just a couple of tablespoons. And I'm going to stir that all together just to separate the orzo. Then we're going to add a tiny bit of olive oil for flavor. We're also going to add some Parmesan cheese. I just bought a bag of shredded Parmesan. You can use freshly grated if you want. I'm not a fan of the green can, but this seems to be fine. You know, it's my favorite cheese, so you add as much or as little as you like. I like a lot. And that's pretty much it. This makes a great side dish to any kind of a grilled piece of chicken or anything. Okay, I'm sauteing up the mushrooms. Just for a minute. Then we will add our green beans back in. I'm going to chop just a little bit of parsley. You can put this in the green beans or in the orzo. I'm going to add it to my orzo. Going to add just a little bit of finely chopped parsley. Just chop it, run your knife through it if you've never chopped fresh herbs. Just put one end of your knife on your cutting board and then lift the back end and move it as you go. And then I like to change directions just to kind of get it finely minced. Okay, we're going to stir this into our orzo. Stir that in. You could add some lemon to it if you wanted to. I don't think I will this time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but if you want to add a little bit of lemon zest to it. But our fish is pretty lemony, so we're good on that. Now I'm going to add the green beans back into the mushrooms. And they are done. Really, it's that simple, that quick, and that easy. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. This is just pink Himalaya salt. I keep several different kinds of salt on hand. I like the pink Himalayan. I like, most of the time I just use regular kosher salt, but sometimes I do like to use the pink Himalayan. Add some minerals and flavor. All right, let me get my mess cleaned up here. Now, let's check the fish. I want to show you how you can tell if your fish is done. Let's get it out of the oven. and bring it over here. Now, it doesn't matter if your fish is fresh or frozen. When you cook it, most of the time you will see this white let me move this out of the way so you can see the white kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a liquid that comes out of the fish. That's perfectly fine. That's just the protein. To test to see if your fish is done, take a fork and insert it into the thickest part. If your fish flakes easily, then it's finished, it's cooked. So let's get a board, because I don't like to put meat on my wooden boards. And we will remove a piece of this and we will slice it. Let me get a long spatula and put it over here. And then you can cut it into bite-sized pieces. This pan is hot. Let me get this out of my way. Put it over here on the counter. And we will plate up this meal. All right, now our fish is done. I got us a plate and I went ahead and put some of the orzo on there and some of the green beans and mushrooms. Now, here's our beautiful salmon. I'm just going to cut a piece of this and place it on our board. You can cut as much or as little as you like, up to you. And there's our beautiful salmon with our orzo. Now, I like to serve it with some fresh lemon wedges. So I like to go ahead and roll my lemons, cut them in half, lengthwise, not crossways, and then just cut them into wedges this way. And to show that it's a lemon flavor, we can just put a couple of lemon pieces on there. That just lets all your guests know that it is lemon flavored. And then when they're ready to eat, they can squeeze it over top. Now our salad, we can't forget our beautiful salad. Just get you a serving dish. Put some of your your salad in your bowl. A few of those croutons. If you want extra cheese, you can put extra cheese, and I certainly would, for sure. I don't like to toss my dressing in the bowl. I like to serve the dressings on the side, and then whoever's, can put as much or as little, because I find, people like their dressings differently. I don't like my salads totally dressed. I like a minimal dressing on my salad. Some people really, really like a lot of dressing. Totally up to you. So here you go. Here are some, let's put a crouton up there. Here are some very quick, easy to cook meal ideas for you. We've got our beautiful salmon. This was a wild-caught sockeye salmon. It was truly the most beautiful fillet of fish or salmon that I've seen. We just coated that with a little tiny bit of olive oil and some salt, and then I used a salt-free lemon pepper and a little bit of dried basil. Remember to check your lemon pepper seasoning, because some of them have salt, some of them don't. If yours has salt, make sure that you don't add any salt to the fish. Bake it in a 400-degree oven for, it will depend on how big your fish fillets are. I usually test per inch of thickness about 10 to 15 minutes. This baked in about 15 minutes. We've got our orzo that we cooked in a little bit of water and chicken broth. We drained it, we added some butter and some Parmesan cheese and some fresh chopped parsley. then and a tiny bit of olive oil for flavor. We've got our wonderful little fresh green beans. These were little snap beans. I just sauteed them briefly in a little shallow pan a shallow pan with a little bit of water. Let that water evaporate. Removed them, then I sauteed the mushrooms in some butter, and then I added the green beans in. Test for seasoning, salt and pepper, and that is a beautiful, elegant meal. And then we've got our homemade Caesar salad dressing that we just did romaine lettuce with some croutons, some Parmesan cheese, and our wonderful dressing that we made with mayonnaise, Worcestershire, garlic, and lemon, salt and pepper, and some olive oil. Add as much or as little salt and pepper as you like. If you like anchovies, you can mince up an anchovy fillet and add to that. I'm not a fan, so I don't add it to mine. But if you are, by all means, add some anchovy to your salad dressing. Here you go, a quick and easy meal any night of the week. Try these, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time, hopefully with a better voice on Everyday Manna.
Gray Kennels and Security is a place where your dog will learn to listen like the best friend they are. Our company's been established since 1979 in Gray, Tennessee, offering inside and outside boarding alongside our obedience training program. There are private classes available for both owners and dogs. Give us a call if you'd like to learn how to train your dog. Our phone number is 423-477-2810, and our address is 521 Hales Chapel Road, Gray, Tennessee, 37615.
Hi everybody, we have a brand new Everyday Manna cookbook for you. It's Everyday Manna's Southern Style 100